You're floating through space. You come across a perfect rectangular prism, the size of the moon. From the depths of you comes boiling up an irresistible question. What made this? Hello everybody, Uluscri here. As you can tell, it is very dark, which I thought was pretty fitting for such a dark-themed video. Not that the content is especially dark, but, dark matter aliens, thought I might as well. And you might be wondering why you can't see my hand, and it's because you won't hear me as well, but I got this jank set up. You can see Audacity's up right there, and you'll definitely be able to hear the bugs. And they're the reason why I'm not recording the audio with my phone, because they're really loud. And I was able to lessen them by using an external microphone. But I like their ambiance, it's pretty good. Anywho, the content of the video. So we have here our dark matter little aliens. Well, they're not especially little, as you can see. Sorry about the shadows. The lighting isn't especially good, but as you can see, there are 4 major kinds of these dark matter aliens. But first, if you're uninitiated to dark matter, allow me to explain. In our universe, the one that you're living in right now, it's only theorized that dark matter is a thing. It's more a gravitational anomaly. Galaxies have more mass than we can see, sort of thing. So we hypothesize that there's some sort of dark matter. A better name would probably be undetectable matter, because it's not that it's dark, but that light cannot bounce off of it at all. It can't go through it. Well, I guess the problem is that it goes through it way too easily. It just doesn't interact. The only way that this matter, if it even does exist, interacts with our matter is through gravity. And in this universe that I'm creating here, I've sort of declared that dark matter does exist, so you can surmise that these beings being made of dark matter means that humanity cannot detect them, could not see them coming. A dark matter creature could be standing right next to you, and you would never know. Which is, of course, a little bit spooky, but in the universe that I'm building here, it's sort of framed in a decidedly non-spooky way. This isn't a horror universe. It's mostly a fantasy, though there are some horrific and horror-esque elements in there, I will not deny it. But allow me to explain some of the details about these creatures. So their forms are malleable. You can see like tendrils snaking out, and they can expand and contract to very great amounts. Their sizes here are illustrations of their absolute farthest that they can stretch themselves. So you can see the Earth as comparison here. This is sort of like a rough estimate. Oh, and this Earth, I decided to go a little bit strange with the orientation of it. That is actually Antarctica. You can see it clearer if you go this way. So that's South America, Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and Africa. So that's a little fun tidbit there. And yeah, it depends on their size, obviously, their relative sizes to each other, but for instance, the I-Hoto'esk and the I-Uskri are around the mass of like a couple of Great Pyramids of Giza. So, when they're in this very, very stretched out form, their density is very, very low, which is great fun for them. And it may not look like it based off of their pure bodies, but as you can see in these little emotion bubbles, they do have emotions. These are intelligent creatures. They have personalities and unique stories, and each one is its own individual. They're very much not just clones of each other. Yeah, they each have their own goals. They each have their own desires. Though these sort of thought bubble things are more like general tendencies, I guess. And it'll be a lot clearer with these two, since really the only difference between these were how they live their lives. The story of these creatures I want to get into in a different video, because right now I just want to describe what they are like. But enough beating around the bush, I may as well get into the meat of it. Fair warning that the names of these creatures is in a constructed language of mine that is little more than a naming language right now. It's not a full language in any means. I really only have like a few nouns, some pronouns, and that's really it. So that is all to say that these names could change once I get around to really diving into the languages. But anyways, so the first that we'll go through are the I-Hoto'esk. That name roughly translates to wandering beings or drifting beings. Long story short, they are the result of an extremely advanced civilization uploading their brains into these giant dark matter machines, basically, like machine bodies. And that's what these bodies are. You can think of them as like dark matter amoeba, machine amoeba, if you want to think of it in that way. They're basically just like a mash between computers and body, but made of dark matter. And most of them live in their own simulated worlds where they just live in happiness. They play around. They're basically just enjoying their time in infinite VR. And you can see with their little expressions, they're living in bliss, most of them are. And since they're living in their little simulated realities, their bodies are just sort of floating through the universe. They're just drifting, which is why they're named that way. But some of these understandably got antsy. They felt like they needed more from this reality. At this point, millions of years have gone by, and, a few of them decide that they want to do something else. So they start to interact with the real world, our flavor of matter. And the ones that decide to go this route are called the I-Uskri, or creator beings. And as you can see, I've sort of tried to illustrate that this one is creating some sort of matter that's accreting into a little shape there. And they like this. They chose this life. They want to create, they want to interact with the real world. And to sort of give you an idea of what their creations are, allow me to turn the page real quick. There's all sorts of stuff that they like to do. So there's one of the I-Uskri, just sort of having its fun little time creating. And, our friend, the floating rectangle in space from earlier, was created by one of these creatures. Some of them are fond of geometric shapes on massive scales. Some of them just like creating gibberish or fun little lines and swirls and spirals. They're creating art. They're expressing themselves. They're having fun with it, creating their own stories. As I describe this, I realize that they are very much like me in a way. And they can even get up to the level of creating whole planets, or even life, as you can see through this very badly illustrated cat. And this cat is very much not to scale, as you might have guessed. But yeah, so in my universe, in certain parts of the universe, there are just little pockets of wonderful little creations. And some of these beings, whenever they create life, they like to cozy up with them and guide them and nurture them, sort of like parents, sort of like gods. And you can sort of see where this is going, but I'll get around to that in a moment. Oh, and I should sort of describe a little bit in detail how this creation works. These beings are converting dark matter into real matter. And as you might have heard, there is a lot of dark matter to go around in this universe, so they're able to do this pretty readily. And this is mainly how they interact with the universe, is they convert dark matter into matter and energy, and in doing so, they can use that stuff to create and interact with us, even with humans, as you'll eventually see. But moving on to the I-Voxtar, these are the destroyer beings. And I won't go into the history of it, but they were created by some of the I-Uskri to convert matter back into dark matter. Because as you might be able to surmise, I-Uskri live for a very long time. They like to create a lot of things, and eventually they were running out of space, running out of dark matter to work with. So they created these I-Voxtar to convert old, unused, unloved creations back into dark matter. And they did so for a while. But as you can see, they got a little bit fed up with their state of affairs. They didn't like being used in this way, so they got a little angry. And there were a lot more of them than the I-Uskri. There was a little bit of a war going on. Let's just say that. And this last one here, Gen, isn't any of these other beings. It is its own being. It was also created, much like the I-Voxtar. It was created to be a more powerful I-Uskri in the hopes that it could protect against the I-Voxtar. But as you can see from its expression, that didn't especially work. It fled the war that was happening over there with those guys. And in its little pocket of the universe that it found, it decided to create a world of its own. In that world was Voltana from another video that you might have seen, a video about a planet with floating islands. If you haven't seen that video, then it'll be in the description. And you've been seeing it for like this whole video, it's over there, but there's a certain way that Gen interacted with humans. So imagine you're on this planet, Voltana, and you're walking around, you meet this person. They seem a little strange, a little eccentric. And, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do this, but theoretically, if you were able to look into the dark matter realm, you would see something like this. So as you might be able to guess, all of this is Gen. And this little thing right here, this body that you've been seeing and that you've been seeing talking to you and talking to other people, is actually just a meat puppet that's being guided by the energy that Gen is converting from dark matter. This body itself is not alive. It might not even have any brain or any organs in it. It could just be like just pure meat. I said this video wasn't going to be horrifying, but that visual kind of is horrifying. But anyways, Gen is piloting this to have a conduit through which to interact with its creations. It could manifest as a bodiless voice by creating sound waves through energy, but it wants to be a little bit more personable. As the god of this planet, it wants to show a nice face to its creations. The specific body that it chooses can be very different sometimes just based off of how it's feeling. It'll even choose to manifest as an animal sometimes. And as you might be able to guess, it does switch bodies sometimes, and when it does that, sometimes it's a little bit thoughtless. It forgets to dismantle the body first. When you're looking at it from a human perspective, the body will just suddenly fall to the ground as if the life has suddenly gone out of it. And then it'll just start decaying over time. So that's another horrifying little detail for you. Yeah. Though not to scale, this is sort of an illustration of the dark matter body being really stretched out. And then on the next page is an example of the dark matter body being really condensed. And this is probably to scale. This is several pyramids of Giza being condensed into this little area. It's going to be massive. It might even have its own small gravitational field. So whenever you're walking around and you see this being, this body talking, you might even be able to feel yourself being pulled towards it, which would be a very interesting sensation, I imagine. But that is the very cursory look at these creatures. I hope you enjoyed this video. This very quick look into the universe of Gen. I hope the ambiance was nice. I hope the bugs were not too distracting. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the description. And my question for y'all is, which of these would you like to be, or which do you think you would be if you were in this universe and you happened to be made of dark matter? There are a lot of other ideas that I could do with this concept, and obviously, as I was saying, these creatures are very much not monoliths of each other. They are individuals, have their own personalities and unique traits. There are different kinds, different subsets of each major kind of being. I'm still fleshing it out a lot, but I do definitely want to make more videos about them in the future. Though I suspect that the next video I make in this universe will be about the detailed history of these beings, telling the story of how this galactic war took place between the I-Uskri and the I-Voxtar, how Gen was born as a weapon that fled So yeah, if that interests you, then, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. I don't know if the bell works. I've heard it doesn't, but you can do it anyways, I guess. So after recording, I completely forgot that I wanted to start a thing at the end of every video that I like to call the Corner for Cool Creations, or the CFCC, I guess. And this is where I'll be showcasing creators and their cool creations that I've seen. Be they big or small, be they long or short. Yeah, I really like art. And I'm making art myself, and so I want to showcase other people's art. I want art to be spread throughout the world. So, for this first iteration of this whole thing, I thought that I would showcase my partner's art. They are Natanya. They also go by Uluscri for their Tokipona stuff. And they make music. And I will leave the rest to them. So, take it away. I don't know which direction you're gonna come from. Yeah.
Coming in from over here, hello, my name is Natanya. I'm super happy to be featured on the Corner for Cool Creations. I'm over here in my own corner. It's one of the many places that I come to create cool things. I am a singer, songwriter, music producer, etc. who makes art in a lot of different genres. Maybe the man with the nervous condition never gonna feel it again. So you know you just stop when it was enough. Don't you remember how sweet? But if you like lyrical cleverness, harmonic experimentation, and magic, you will find a lot of footholds in the stuff that I create. You can listen to my music just about anywhere but SoundCloud. It's not like I have anything against SoundCloud, I've just never used it. But the most up-to-date place to find all of my stuff is on Bandcamp. I release songs as singles there first, and if you buy anything from The Moon and the Scientist onward, as thanks for supporting me monetarily, you will get a little bonus mystery item for each song. And in 3 songs' time, all of that new stuff is gonna be released as an album to Spotify, Apple Music, etc. My general workflow. I also have a separate project for making music in Tokipona, a constructed language. I'm there called Uluscri. It basically means wizard. You can find all of my stuff on Bandcamp and YouTube. I will eventually work on getting it to streaming services. With that, I bid you adieu and hope you enjoy my cool creations. Again, huge thanks to Uluscri. If you've watched this far, you already know they're awesome. Mwah. Bye!
And yeah, if you think you have any friends who would enjoy this sort of content, then share this video with them. I have a Discord channel, I have several websites, all of that stuff will be linked in the description. The next video will be a more produced look at the gravity magic system from the Seven Forces universe. So if that interests you, then I encourage you to stick along. Keep an eye out for that. I hope you're having a good day, and yeah, I'll see you then. I hope you go absorb the world some today, and I bid you farewell. Bye!